Now, sometimes gun owners just lose control. And that's what we're going to look at today as we talk about a fascinating incident that is so unique because of how applicable it could be to any one of us. Any one of us can find ourselves in this exact situation. So we're going to look at how this situation played out, how it could have played out differently, the defense that was used and why that is so important to this entire video, plus what can you do as a gun owner if you find yourself in this situation. Now, of course, I'm going to give you my opinion, and I want to hear yours afterwards. Let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, I'm going to show you as much of this video as I can right off the rip, but just keep in mind I can't show you the whole thing, right? Because of YouTube, it is what it is. But you're going to be able to get the idea from this video how it plays out.
You really want this on video?
I'll pull it. I'm mad enough to just pull it. Okay. All right, goodbye, Reese. Nice to know you. You go meet Jesus.
So, first of all, let me just say, what we're not going to do in this video is we're not going to focus on the gun or the fact the guy was a gun owner. He is a gun owner, right? He clearly lost control, but if he had anything at this time, any kind of weapon he could have found, he probably would have used it, and I think that's a fairly good guess because of the way this situation played out. Now we're looking at Carrie Birmingham, and the person recording is Patricia Birmingham, right? It is his wife. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is cameras. There's a joke, right, on social media. The camera person always survives because we always get footage of just kind of crazy incidents, right? Well, I think it's a kind of an important reminder that just because you have a camera doesn't mean people are not going to try to do harm against you, right? If you're in a situation like this, and I see it all the time in like motorcycle videos, right? A rider has his right of way infringed upon, somebody runs into him, or they're having an argument or whatever, and a lot of the times what motorcyclists will do is they'll say, hey, you know, they'll point at the camera on their helmet. Hey, I got you on tape, bud. And most of the time the response is, I don't care. Now these cameras, of course, can be very useful to build a case, and it was very useful in this case. But the first thing I noticed is, why is she recording? She's outside. There's cars in the driveway. Did she have a chance to just simply get away? That's what I'm thinking. Instead of recording it and basically testing him if he's actually going to do this or not, get away. So I think that's important to all of this. First of all, cameras do not protect you from harm necessarily. They're good to have in building a case, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be harmed just because you're holding a camera. But also, if you have the chance to get away and remove yourself from any situation like this, especially if you know you're armed or somebody else is armed, that's the best scenario. Well, let's say maybe for whatever reason it couldn't happen like that. Well, the backstory here, before we get into how we could handle this differently or how he could have as well, is the fact that his wife was having an affair. This was told to him by a mutual friend and confirmed by her. So according to the timeline, he found out about the affair from the friend, overnight stewed on it. The next morning is when the confrontation happened. That's a lot to take for somebody that you care about, somebody that you love, anybody that's in a relationship, male or female, you know, somebody that you care about, finding out that they have betrayed you is one of like the worst things, right? And you probably also know what it's like to have like this very quick, and I don't know if it's reasonable or not, but it can enrage you very quickly. So that part of it I understand. Obviously this guy handled it poorly, and one thing I don't want to be lost in this video is the sympathy I have for the family of this woman, right? She did something wrong, but that doesn't mean she deserved what she got either, right? So don't get that twisted if you think I'm going that route, because I am definitely not. But you have a guy that finds out his wife is having an affair and he loses it. Now, another point that we can take from this is when he found out, he had a mutual friend, it seems like his information was solid. If you find something like this out, and you're in the home with the person that hurt you, get away. Find a friend. You need a good friend. Somebody, maybe even that friend, right? Because I'm sure that friend probably, is like, oh my God, I can't even believe I brought this up, right? Because of how it all played out. But if you can find somebody that you can stay with for a night, 2, a week, whatever, I understand the need for confirmation from the person that did it, but I also understand that this could play out very poorly for both of us if I don't remove myself from the situation. So not only could she have removed herself, but so could he. Now, the guy ends up getting an all-woman jury, which is very rare. And they sentence him to 10 years. Instead of the maximum of 20, he gets 10 and the chance of parole after 5, which is about the best that the defense could actually ask for, because the proof is right there. What Patricia shot in that video is proof enough that he did it, but the defense was a crime of passion. And that obviously worked, right? The jury felt that that was exactly what happened. Now, couples have problems all the time. I don't know how long this couple was having an issue. They brought up in the defense how the wife would put down his ability to perform and provide, which are two things that will pretty much enrage any guy out there, to be quite honest with you. But he's not perfect either, right? I'm sure there are things that he did as well. So very rarely is it all on one person, right? The blame can be split most of the time between both people. And unfortunately, the more you care about somebody, the more it hurts when they actually, or if they end up actually hurting you, especially to this extent. So if you're a gun owner and you find yourself in this situation, what do you do? Well, I think we go back to what they could have done. First of all, removing yourself from the situation. I don't think that if there was a red flag law that was applicable, right? Let's say this mutual friend was like, oh, well, it's too toxic between them. We need to take the guy's guns away from him and, that's going to save everybody. No, because again, I think if he had any kind of weapon, it probably would have played out the same exact way. But what he could have done is when he found that information out, talk to a good friend, talk to your parents, somebody not only that you can just go stay with, but somebody you can talk to. That's going to be crucial in being able to kind of bring everything back into perspective, because you get these moments of rage, right? We've all felt it. We've all seen red at some point in our lives, and it's typically replaces reasonable part of our brains, right? All reason goes out the window. So we need a chance to cool down, and we need somebody to talk to and bring everything back into perspective. The other thing, if Patricia was a gun owner, if she was carrying a firearm for herself, and let's say there was a situation where she couldn't get away, this would have been just a great time to actually have something to protect yourself. She could have backed him down when she saw that this was just getting way out of hand. Again, this is assuming that she couldn't have got out of there. But in a stand your ground state, even with her doing something like she did, that does not give him the right to pull a gun on her. So if she would have had her own firearm or had it on her at this time, she could have saved her own life, right? And I think that's another thing that we can take away from this as a gun owner. If it happens to you, it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of all your guns, right? If you know you're dealing with somebody that could potentially, there's any chance of this and you can't get away, having a firearm to protect yourself, I think, is super important in any situation. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, and that's a part of it. But I hate the fact that the only route she felt like she could take is record him to hopefully keep him from doing something like this, when a firearm would have been a great equalizer to save her own life. And that would be my recommendation to any gun owner, right? If you are on the other end of this information, you're the one receiving it, remove yourself. Find somebody to talk to. Bring yourself back into reality. But if you're facing somebody that has the potential to harm you, getting yourself trained and also having a firearm on you at all times is so crucial, because you never know when you might actually need that and actually have to use it. And that's how this whole entire sad situation played out. It is just, it's, like I said, it's terribly sad, but it's also a stark reminder of how quickly gun owners can get themselves caught up into situations that you don't really want to be in. So there you go, man. That is my opinion on this, and I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you think this could have been handled any differently? Are there any tips that you would give gun owners in a situation like this? Make sure you leave that down below. If you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold them down.